Thank you for calling the Nikki Clarke Radio Show. The show is about transforming lives one story at a time, and we're always excited to have stellar individuals on the line who share a little bit about what they've done to overcome some incredible challenges and now are at a place where they can share and help people transform their lives. So we have a wonderful woman on the line. She is the founder and CEO of Sacred Survivors International, a social entrepreneurship, and it's primarily a membership-funded organization that hosts an annual summit at varying locations internationally, poised to be the premier international women's organization. And it supports and provides resources for survivors of all sexual and domestic violence-related crimes, including human trafficking and sex trafficking. So I am so honored to have the founder, Laurel Lambkin, on the line with us. How are you doing today, Laurel?
Excellent. I am invigorated and happy to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Laurel, I think we'll just get right to it. Can you tell us a little bit about your background leading up to becoming the founder and CEO of Sacred Survivors International?
That is such a deep question. How does one condense almost half a century of life in this question?
Right.
If you would put me 5 minutes, I could drop down into it for you. Initially, my mandate to launch Sacred Survivors International really was a natural, progressive response to my own cumulative life experiences. Specifically, those were multiple types of childhood abuse and neglect, to sexual assaults, plural, as a minor and then again as an adult, to even domestic violence within my own marriage. First came the self-work, I think, for me. It took decades of intensive therapeutic interventions, and through that journey, I came to understand that, I was able to see my life through those varying lenses, and that intergenerational trauma was not unique to just me. It provided the fertile soil and the psychological environment that made it easy for potential perpetrators to identify and target individuals like me. And sadly, this pattern has been studied scientifically as well. I learned that neurons in our brains register and encode messages in our neurological pathways that make us vulnerable to these type of abusers, perpetrators, narcs, psychopaths, sociopaths, and other types of individuals with abnormal psyche, whether they've been diagnosed or not. Predators always know. Then came decades of research. So through research and education around neuroscience and trauma-informed psychology, I now understood that the childhood abuse and neglect is what disempowered me as a child. So it was natural to seek love, support, validation from whomever wished to give it. But what I also learned was that we don't learn to be discriminating because we don't have those models or boundaries that should have been taught to us. So I had to learn all of that. I also unconsciously learned that the caretakers that were supposed to love me, people in authority, people who were supposed to protect me, that wielded any type of power over me, even to place demands on my body, that was allowed in my mind. And they even felt entitled to do so. To give an example of Jane, right? Jane, sit on Uncle Creepy. Uncle Creepy, yes. Uncle Creepy grabs you and forces you to sit on his lap. That's just one type of scenario. In that scenario, resistance is futile. And it's met with condemnatory looks and statements that condemn and even punishment for the girl if she refuses, right? But for the purpose of examples, most will reference the female gender, but we also know that this affects boys, and men can be abused as well, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All of this may sound absurd to some who may be raised appropriately, but for survivors like myself, this is an all too familiar story. I certainly wasn't expecting my research and my prayers for understanding to lead to a mandate to develop this organization, or for it to resonate to the level of a war cry among women and even professionals that I spoke with to support these survivors. Everybody wants this now, and the way forward is crystal clear to me. So that's the answer to that question, I think, for me. You know, it's just years of research. I specifically researched questions that came up for me personally, like why men rape? How can parents sell or trade their children for drugs, money, or sex? You know, why do mothers neglect and not protect their daughters? Why do husbands physically and sexually abuse their wives? Why do people block out instances of assault? You know, how do we deal with these things? That is what brought me to this work at this time. Yes.
Wow, that's a remarkable, study, and thank you so much for sharing your very personal journey with us. In summary. But I wanted to ask you, Laurel, what is the? Sorry. What I wanted to ask Laurel was, what is the percentage of, or the ratio of women who are, or young women who are being assaulted worldwide? Would you have a number?
Well, specifically, I wouldn't be able to give you an exact estimation. Uh-huh. However, through my research, what we have come to understand is 1 in 2 women, children, and intersex individuals at some point from birth to death will encounter some type of sexually related crime or domestic violence related crime, including human trafficking and sex trafficking, which is
quite astounding. It is.
Yes.
It's staggering. It is staggering. Laurel, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the work that I do, and I'm involved in part of the advisory council here in Toronto for human trafficking. And I was really floored when the information was shared with us that girls and boys between the ages of, say, 12 and 13 are being trafficked from their homes. So they are in a situation where they are lured online, and their boyfriends who become, the perpetrators and engaging them in this trafficking will pick them up from school, and then they're engaged in whatever, and then they're brought back to school, and the parents are none the wiser. And they come from all kinds of homes, all kinds of ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, and it's just mind-blowing. Do you have any kind of reflections on how human trafficking is evolving in terms of just how the activity starts? We were, brought to the attention that it happens online, but there are different ways. Can you just kind of share a little of what you have learned?
Another excellent question. So dropping down into that question really quickly, I would have to say that it starts with communication from birth, okay? Mm-hmm. All parents need to vigorously engage and bond with their children from birth. because every step of the way, because I was an educator previously and I was able to teach from elementary through high school, and then I had my own daughters, my own twins. So I understand how human beings grow and develop, okay? And each stage of our human development has its own challenges. So if you lay the right foundation as a parent, as a caregiver for a child to whom you have been sacredly entrusted to protect, to love, to care for, that is a relationship that you need to maintain throughout that child's life. The reason why I'm hounding on that is because that is what will enable you to keep the lines of communication open, even when things get difficult. Even when they hate you, they don't want to hear what you have to say, they also know, right, subconsciously, that you love them, you care for them, and you have always had their best interest at heart. So the situations and the scenarios, I would purport that in those situations, like what you mentioned, where the child is taken from school, unbeknownst to the parents, nobody at school is informed, that's a child that's learned to not communicate, that is relatively secretive, and you have to ask why. Why is that child not able to communicate what is going on? How has that child learned that it's better to not speak in that scenario, even when they're being hurt, right? See, I have lots of questions to drop down into, and I would think that a lot of other professionals would concur, right? There's more going on than meets the eye with those situations. That entire situation needs to be investigated, right? The home life, what is the pathology of that child? Yeah.
There are many layers to it. There's not just one solution, one answer.
Yeah.
Excellent. Laurel, can you tell me a little bit about, now you say that you have a family and you have 2 daughters. Do you have any sons?
I just have my twin daughters, yes.
Twin daughters, excellent.
No sons.
And I'm sure the work, the passion work that you are pursuing has transformed you, and I'm confident that your children look up to you as this amazing role model. How has it transformed your life?
Ooh, wow. Boy, that I really got to drop down into that one. Okay, the words that come to mind would be, this feels colossal, Herculean, even immense. You know, I came up with this word a few years ago. It's a mandate, not a mission, meaning I have no choice. It's the only way I am allowed forward at this time. It is like the work itself requires this multifaceted, multi-pronged approach, which I have not seen engaged with before in this work. So what I started planning immediately was, what is the way that we could get women together to support one another throughout the world? No more separation geographically, no more separation of this is how you were categorized statistically and what happened to you judicially. No, none of that anymore. We've all been hurt. We've all experienced this some type of violence and trauma. So I needed to figure out how I could get these women together, how I could start engaging with them educationally, learning from them, right? Learning what brought them to their specific situation occurring in their lives. Also, finding out about these perpetrators and finding out as much as we can about them, because that is the kind of information that society needs, right? What is creating the problems, or who is creating these problems, and what's the fertile soil that it needs so we can upend that. Yeah. So it's a constant seeking on my part for opportunities education, research that would help me support our mandate.
Excellent. And Laurel, I just wanted to ask you one more question before we close. What message of hope can you offer us right now? We are all globally experiencing very challenging times because of the COVID-19 pandemic. What would be your message of inspiration?
Beautiful question. Actually reminds me of a conversation I recently had. There is like this deafening silence that's happening. We all have to drop down into our own homes, our own experiences, because in some way or another, we're isolated. Mentally from other people, psychologically from other people, even, physically from other people. So we have an escalation of issues, and we just need to try to figure out what we can learn from the silence, how we can assist one another, because we all have such varying circumstances. We talked about, you referenced socioeconomics before, right? Everybody's affected differently by the fallout of this pandemic. I just spoke with a friend of mine in India today, and she talked about families of 5 or more living in one room, one bathroom, a little kitchen stove, right? That's a very different scenario than these, celebrities that come on and talk about their lives, and really their lives are pretty fantastic on 50 acres that they can walk, right? Just like with our work, you need to figure out within your circumstances how you can empower yourself to remain positive, to breathe through it, try to extrapolate or learn as many lessons as you can about yourself, about our society, about what we may have done wrong as a society. I feel like this is a time of reckoning for everyone and everything. Yes. Everyone and everything. And hopefully on the other end, we come out more educated, more empowered, hopefully more intelligent, and more responsible about all the decisions that we make.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Pearls of wisdom for us. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I love that answer, and I agree with you. I second that emotion. I really hope that on the other end, as you refer to it, that we are so much better than when we started. So I look forward to that day when we are released. And we've had a lot of time for sober reflection to just be better change agents for the world. So I thank you again. Laurel, how can people reach you on social media? How can they connect with you?
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for the opportunity to do this interview with you as well. So on LinkedIn, thank you. You can find me at laurel.l on LinkedIn. On Facebook, we have an excellent Facebook group that I established, and it's relatively new. It's called Sacred Survivors of SV and DV. So that's our Facebook group. And by email, you can write us at Sacred Survivors, all spelled out, and then INTL for international, abbreviated, at gmail.com. And from there, we'll connect you into our website, which we're currently working on.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to Laurel Lambkin, who is the founder and CEO of Sacred Survivors International. I would encourage you to please connect with her. She's available on social media, on LinkedIn, and she has a vibrant Facebook group. So please take the time and to know more about what the organization is. And Laurel has a fascinating journey, too, that she is sharing. So thank you very much, Laurel. You've been listening to the Nikki Clarke Radio Show, Transforming Lives One Story at a Time, and I look forward to connecting with you again another time. Laurel, all the best. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.